All right, welcome back to the Josh Aveste channel. I haven't been active on here recently, so what I thought I'd do is I'd give you a little treat by not just bringing myself, because I know you all love watching me chat about football, but also another football expert, probably the more of a football expert than I am. It's Joey Knight. He's on the channel for the first time. Welcome.
It feels
Does
good
it feel
to be
different?
here, mate. It feels good to be here. Can I just ask, is that how you describe me to people, as a little treat?
Yes,
When
I do.
people say,
yeah.
Joey like? Yeah, he's a little treat. He's
little
a little treat.
football expert
Yeah.
and a treat.
Yeah.
How about that?
I'll have it.
Is
I'll
that the
take
best
it.
intro you've ever had?
Yeah. It's up there.
So what I thought we'd do today, right, is go through the Chelsea squad, because we've been talking about this earlier on. We were talking about some transfers. What we haven't been able to do is go through one by one, player by player, and go, who do we think is going to be in our 26, I'm going to go 26-man squad. Now, that might be a little bit harsh, and we can get onto it at the end, some of the players that we think might be sold or loaned, and maybe we can integrate them back into the squad.
Is it not a 28-man squad?
We can call it 26, 28. Think about it, right? 2 players per position, that would be 24, plus another goalkeeper, plus another player, 26.
Okay.
But we can have 28. I mean, it's Europa League football. We're going to play 80 games this season.
There you go.
So I thought, why don't we just get straight into it?
Yep.
Start with the goalkeepers. This is going to be an interesting one, because the rumours that we've heard are that Sánchez is going to be the number 1 for pre-season. How do you feel about that?
I don't want to sound like I'm being too rude about Robert Sánchez.
Yeah.
But if you're not a believer of Robert Sánchez and you don't think he's the man to start more often than not between the sticks, for Chelsea Football Club, then it may be a good thing to you that he's starting off as pre-season. Because if you are of the belief that he is prone to high-profile errors and mistakes, then maybe that will rear its ugly head in pre-season. Then maybe Enzo Maresca has time in the same pre-season campaign, or even in Conference League qualifiers, which I think will be planned. Maybe he has time to then have a look at Djordje. Because I personally would say that Petrovic is the better option. I think that there's just so much made of what goalkeepers can do with their feet, and I understand it. But do you remember a goalkeeper that went by the name of... what's his name? Petr. Remember him?
He was pretty good with his feet.
He weren't great with his feet. He weren't great. Like, I'm going to call it for what it was. I'm not saying it's bad with his feet at all. He wasn't. He was about Petrovic standard with his feet. Because back in the day, that was how goalkeepers used to play. And I tell you what, we've won plenty of silverware. And I don't see any of them league titles missing or the Champions League trophy missing because Petr Cech wasn't getting assists like maybe you might see an Alisson do once or twice a season, or an Ederson. So my whole stance on he's not really a ball-playing goalkeeper. I think that I try, and convenient for me, I try and simplify things as much as I possibly can. And the way I simplify it is this. Will Sanchez's ball-playing abilities acquire us more points over a 38-game season than Petrovic's save-making abilities, which I believe is better than Sanchez's? I don't think that Sánchez, with a ball at his feet, necessarily means that we're going to get more points on the table. And ultimately, that's what it comes down to, doesn't it?
So, would you think about selling him then? Because, and I'll chuck the graphic on screen now, I've got 2 guaranteed goalkeepers that we're going to have. Petrovic isn't going anywhere, is he?
No.
And Bettinelli isn't going anywhere because he's there for the vibes. So
Bettinelli's very much there for the vibes. Because other than that, I don't know what else he is there.
Is there a small chance that he ends up playing a Conference League game or something this season, Bettinelli? I could see that happening.
Yeah.
I could see that happening. So I've got those 2 boys in there. The one that I want to have a conversation about, because we've seen him in the Euros, he's been quite good, did get knocked out against Spain, but Mamajvili.
He did look good.
I don't want to say it, mate, but we were talking about this guy last summer.
But we're not trying to claim we're experts.
We're not going to go on about it.
No, we're not. They can write that in the comment section, but we're not going to claim to be it. No, he was good for Georgia, man. He was good. He was good.
He's been brilliant for them. Probably one of their best players. And that's saying something because they've been playing very well. I like the look of this guy. For me, if you're going to go 3 goalkeepers that I would pick, Mamashvili would be one, Petrovic would be another, and then Bettinelli would be the third. Mm-hmm. Is that fair to start off with?
That is fair.
Yeah.
That is fair.
Yeah, we'll sack off Sánchez.
I know it's just a very obvious one to suggest, but there will be a high-profile goalkeeper without a club this summer.
Yeah.
I think without a club, because I can't see him playing second fiddle again to David Raya, and that is obviously Aaron Ramsdale. Does that interest you in the slightest?
I don't know. I think with him, the personality and the sort of the general way he acts at the moment and concentration worries me. I don't think he's got that like elite mentality he needs to take us to the next level. And I'd rather have, pardon the pun, safe pair of hands with someone like a Petrovic, who isn't really going to make a glaring error. But I think Ramsdale is harshly done by sometimes, because I don't think he does palm the ball into the back of the net. It's usually sort of a misplaced pass here and there, or him just doing something weird with the fans.
Well, off the back of being replaced after Arsenal finished second in the league under Mikel Arteta the season before they jumped to second.
Yeah.
I didn't think that he cost them many more points than he saved them. I thought he saved them a lot more points than he cost them. So slightly unfair. Was David Raya transformative in goal? Not too sure, but
it's a weird relationship they've got with those goalkeepers. To be fair, isn't it? Yeah, I like the look of him. I would just go for Badiashile because I feel like he'd probably be on less money.
Yeah.
So maybe that's what they're going to go for. The wages are so important these days, and we're going to see that as we go through the pitch. So I think we got 3 goalies there. Let's go on to right back.
Yep.
That's pretty simple, isn't it? We're going to have 2 players there. Can't really see them going anywhere. Well,
do you think there's any need for a third right back?
I like Josh. I'm just going to call him Josh.
Yeah.
In the under 18s, under 21s.
Okay.
I think he's been brilliant. I'd have him as the third.
Yeah.
I think he could end up playing some games this season.
Interesting question.
Yeah.
Who's the first?
It's Reece, isn't it?
Okay.
Would you? I mean, you agree with that. I know you agree with that.
I agree with it, yeah. If potentially Malo Gusto, let's say, right, because it's a double-edged sword, yeah? It is a double-edged sword in terms of careful what you wish for, right? I would very happily make a wish right now for Reece James to be fit and available for 38 games next season.
Yeah.
If he is fit and available for 38 games next season, I think he probably starts 38 games next season. Then, where does that leave Malo Gusto? Because I think that if Malo Gusto was to leave, if he was to go and seek more game time and go somewhere else, that would be one that slips through the net. And we spoke earlier on in a video on my own channel about Lewis Hall leaving, Amari Hutchinson leaving, and Ian Maatsen leaving. And I asked you, who would have the highest ceiling out of those guys that left? If you added Malo Gusto to that discussion, higher than Maatsen.
Really?
That's what I think, yeah.
Yeah, I understand that. I think what's going to be the ultimate differential between those 2 players is going to be whether the right side or the left side is inverting. Because I feel like if the right side is inverting, Reece James is by far the best. And this might be controversial because we've seen Reece James bomb up and down the wing and lay in some unbelievable goals and crosses and that sort of thing. We know he can beat a man. But I'd actually say that Malo Gusto might have the beating of him from that perspective.
In terms of
up and
down the channel. Yeah.
More of a winger than a right back. I would say Malo Gusto might even have the sort of jump on Reece, which is mad to say.
I know if it came down to me putting both of them in a line and going, right, sprint, full pelt right now,
Yeah.
I know what one is less likely to get injured.
Yeah, that's
and
true.
sometimes availability
is the best ability. As you said, ability is the best availability.
Ability is a good availability, but we won't get into that one.
So for me, the right backs is almost like the most solid part of the pitch right now.
Yeah, so it's just them 2, are we saying?
I think with Josh in the under 21s,
okay.
you can have.
Are we going
those
3 per each position?
I'm going just 2 per position. I think for squad management,
we got two there.
Yeah, I think we're fine. Right. So then left backs, we've got 2 left backs on the books right now. The question is, do we need to sell one of them, and which one are we selling? I'm hearing lots of rumours about Cucurella being sold.
I'd absolutely hate that.
I don't. But also, can we just have a brief moment? Where's that coming from? Like, why are we going to sell him? We signed him for a big amount of money.
Yeah.
He's on big wages, but not crazy wages. He's been the best left back by an absolute country mile. He's tearing out for Spain. Yeah. So why are we thinking about offloading him? It's not like we're going to make our money back.
And
is someone going to pay £80 million for him? No.
No way. And the other thing about signing him for big money is you could put that at the likes of Eden Hazard. Bloody hell, never say
take
this
him
bloke's,
at left back.
I'll take him anywhere. Never say this bloke's name in the same breath as Eden Hazard, but you could put that label on Kai Havertz. He was bought in for huge money, at the time and whatnot. But ultimately, it wasn't a Bowley signing. So Bowley probably, and I say Bowley, whoever's running the club at the moment, your guess is as good as mine. But the powers that be wouldn't have felt that first-hand embarrassment from potentially letting a Kai Havertz go on and accepting, okay, this hasn't worked in this scenario. However, you would think that they should feel that about Cucurella. If they were to sell Cucurella in this window, it'd be absolutely mind-blowing to me. It'd be baffling because it's like all of a sudden... And I don't give any credit to the board for this, but all of a sudden we've stumbled upon a recipe for success with Cucurella. And it was never a thing of, systematically it didn't work for Cucurella. I'm not having that. Because Cucurella was poor for club and he was poor for country. And the proof's in the pudding, he never really got picked for Spain before his upturn in form. Now, he's absolutely brilliant, way better than Gary Neville, just to throw any player out there, as a fullback for both club and country. So for us to be moving him on now would be mad. Here's the one thing I would say. If I'm Chile, and I get that players are never given these promises or reassurance firsthand, but if the manager makes it quite clear, that Cucurella is his man over Chilwell, if I'm Chile, I'm gone. I'm going.
Yeah.
Because you're not getting any younger.
That's very true. Do you think he would push the move then?
I think taking away my allegiance to the club and my bias to Chelsea, he probably should push the move. He's not going to get the minutes.
Yeah. And obviously we're hearing rumours about this other guy, Calafiori, who played for Italy, did that amazing run in the Euros. Now, you were very worried about signing players off the back of a good Euros. But this guy does look good. And the rumours aren't going away. Obviously, there are a lot of clubs interested in him.
I'd fork out for Gahey right now.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's the thing, like... The reason why I like Calafiori is he could be that sort of like inverted left back and he could be just as good as Cucurella of what I've seen of him. Harsh to say.
Harsh.
I know you love Cucurella. Is he the best left back in the world for you right now?
Best left back in the world? For me, Cucurella. I'm just repeating that so I can buy time while I think. I wouldn't say he's the best.
He's up there,
I wouldn't say he's the best, but I'd definitely say he's in the top one.
Yeah. I knew that was coming. And obviously, we got to say, Colwill might end up playing there as well.
Hopefully not.
Yeah, but he might end up playing there.
Hopefully not.
So if you're talking about like the three options, maybe we do offload Chilwell. And then we sign another player. Maybe it's a young player. And then Cucurella as well. And then obviously you got Colwill there. So let's go from Colwill on to centre-backs. Yep. For me, I think you need 5 here. So a bit more than 2 per position because you might end up playing one of them as a left-back.
But then what about if you end up moving to a 3?
I can't see it happening under Maresca. I don't think he'll end up with a 3.
Then again, if it did happen, we've already probably named the man who would be in that right side of that 3 in Reece James. So.
Yeah, exactly. I think you've got other players that could cover there.
So we're going 5 on this, yeah?
I think let's go for 5.
Yeah.
I'll name the ones we've got on the books at the moment. So obviously we just signed Tosin. We didn't really talk about him, but we've signed him, coming in for a free transfer. We think he's half decent.
I think he's very decent. Yeah. I think he played well for Fulham.
Yeah. Man City Academy.
Is that where he was? Man City?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, maybe worked under Maresca actually. I think he might have.
Could well have done. Could well know Cole Palmer.
Know Cole Palmer, yeah.
Romeo Lavia.
So there's a lot of connections there, isn't there? And obviously there's some staff connections. So he's in. I think, let's talk about guarantees. I think it's guaranteed that Badiashile and Disasi will still be there.
Yeah.
And then Fofana, obviously, he's not going to go anywhere.
No.
I don't think there'll be a lot of clubs interested in him based off last season.
I think he's looking forward to a little link up with Dewsbury-Hall, mate.
I think he is.
Having it off, like back in the glory days.
They've already done... have you seen the story that he's done today?
No.
Fofana's sort of like already saying linking up with Dewsbury-Hall. He's already done a little story about it. Yeah.
Nice.
So it must be official very soon. Some documents must be signed somewhere. So to recap, Colwill, Tosin, Badiashile, Disasi and Fofana are 5 already. And then we've got to talk about Trev.
Well, Trev's going.
Trev's going.
Isn't he?
It's sad to say, but
can I just say, if he's not going, I find it hard to put him above... Sorry, I find it hard to not put him above everyone you just named, barring Levi Colwill.
Yeah, even then it would be a discussion. Even then it would be a discussion.
I think that's fair, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it is. And we keep having the discussion every year. We keep saying, well, I think for 2 or 3 summers we've said Trevor's the guy to go. And they keep trying to sell him, keep trying to do it. And every time he proves it's all wrong. He actually puts the performances out there.
He has been linked with Crystal Palace for 20 million or something like that.
Which makes sense. And I think he goes to Crystal Palace and I think he does absolutely brilliant.
Displace Anderson.
I think would he not... Yeah, well, there you go. Yeah. Or would he play on one of the wing-back roles?
I think. I mean, Anderson's good, to be fair.
I rate Anderson very well.
I could see a little partnership of him and Gahey.
Gahey could move as well this summer, couldn't he? You could see a big team coming in for Gahey.
Would you come in for him? Would you come in for him?
I'd look at him.
What, for how much?
I'd kind of pay whatever they wanted.
Really? Because you know what the price I put in my head that
what
they're
going
to.
I
think they're going to want 50 million.
I'd pay that.
Would you?
I would. But then,
you know what's
he
mad?
playing
Sorry to
alongside
interrupt you, mate.
Colwill?
We just paid 45 million for Axel Disasi. Of course, I'd pay 50 million.
Yeah, well, that's the point, isn't it? And ultimately, I think Disasi is one of those signings that I keep saying it, but I do think that was a mistake. I think that was I understand why they did it, because let's be honest, he's played a lot of games last year, so it made sense from that perspective.
If you could get half of the Axel Disasi that you got in his performance away at the Etihad against Man City, in his performance away at Villa Park when he had the centre-back pairing of himself and Badiashile in that game, if you could get 60-70% of that player week in, week out, I think you're onto a good thing. I'm probably a first-team starter, but I just feel like the variables are so vast. Like, he can either play really good every now and again, or he's got clangers in him left, right, and centre. So it's hard, isn't it?
Do you know what? I would take Wehi back, and I'd even take Tomori back, and I'd actually even consider them over a Badiashile and a Disasi. Those two players that I mentioned.
Would you take Kurt Zuma over Disasi?
No, I wouldn't. No,
really.
I think he's going to end up leaving West Ham. They don't even rate him, so that tells you everything you need to know. No. At least Emerson's getting a game at West Ham. So I think the 5 defenders at centre back: Tosin, Badiashile, Fofana, Colwill, and Disasi.
Yep.
So that's the 5 players I think we're going with there. I think that's pretty simple. Then shall we go into the midfield?
Yeah.
The 2 DMs that I've got down now are 2 DMs that you're going to disagree. I don't think you're going to agree these are DMs. But anyway, Enzo and Lavia are the 2 DMs that I've got in there. So Caicedo isn't classed for me as a DM in this system.
Right.
But for me, I think those are the 2 players that are going to be training that position, which is interesting because Enzo was crap in that role, wasn't he?
And you're playing him there for his playmaking qualities.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you have to.
Okay. What that then tells me
Yeah.
is that's the only real creative outlet in our midfield if you play Enzo in the DM role. And you're playing him there not because you're expecting him to make last-ditch challenges, blocks, interceptions. You're playing him there for his playmaking abilities from that deeper role.
Yeah.
What that then leaves you with is 2 more positions in that midfield that you are going to need to make up the ground that Enzo misses.
Yeah.
Because he does.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
I've watched him for a couple of seasons now, right? So then that means that you're potentially going to go with Caicedo and Lavia. We'll get into this, but potentially you go Caicedo and Lavia or Caicedo and Gallagher or something like that as your other 2.
Yeah.
Then I don't think that it's got the creativity. So no matter what, you end up either bottom heavy or top heavy here. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You either end up 2 defences if you go, let's say for example, Caicedo in there with Enzo one side and Dewsbury-Hall, then do you know what I mean? The balance just.
Do you know what's funny is I think we always misplace some of these players. Like we thought Kante could only play that DM role. And then you looked at what Kante did under Sarri and he was transformative, wasn't he?
Yeah.
And then also even Caicedo, right? I agree with you. I do think last season Caicedo's best role was as a defensive player. But then you look at what he did, some of the goals he scored. That goal against Spurs that got disallowed.
It's a beauty, isn't it?
It was fucking brilliant. And then the Brentford goal was brilliant. I actually think he's got some ability to go forward. I think he's got a shot in him. And I think we sleep on it all the time. So that's why I've gone for Caicedo slightly further forwards. And actually, to answer your question, if you think about it, Enzo being the deepest one, he's the quarterback, the Cesc Fabregas kind of role, but as a lone Cesc. Then you need bodies in and around him. You've got Caicedo on one side, Dewsbury-Hall, who's the sort of this new signing that we're going to be bringing in, 30 million quid. He's also got the gas. He can go up and down. But also, like you said, he's got some creativity in him. He can score goals, get some assists as well.
So whatever sort of rotation we put them in, we're sure that there are 3. Yeah,
I think they're going to start more
in
games
terms of
Caicedo,
Enzo, and Kieran Dewsbury-Hall.
Yeah.
So how many more places have we got? How many midfielders are you going to go with? Are you going 6?
I think you've got to go like 6 or 7.
Let's go 7.
Okay. So on that, then you've got players like Santos, Caicedo, obviously we've mentioned, KDH, Carney. And then you've got some other players as well that we haven't even talked about here. There's so many midfielders, aren't there? But that's for me. For me, those are the ones that I mentioned. Those are the ones that I think are going to be in there. I don't think Ugochukwu will be in that midfield.
Do you know what, though? You say that. I know that Ugochukwu spent a lot of the back end of the season out injured, but when he played, he never put a foot wrong for me. Yeah. I never had a game where I came away and went, yeah, you can tell he's 18 years old. You can tell he's a young player and he's in his first season in senior football, let alone first season in Premier League football, the best league in the world. I never really came away from a game thinking that. So are we overlooking Ugochukwu?
I think we probably are. Because physically in the Premier League, he gives us something that the other players that we mentioned there don't really have. Like Santos, we don't know if he's got the physicality to compete in the Premier League because he didn't really get a chance at Forest.
I think that Ugochukwu could go out on loan to a team like... Trying to think of a team who hasn't... I was about to say Crystal Palace for a minute, but they got Adam Wharton. You could go out on loan to potentially an Ipswich coming up, someone
Leicester.
like that. Leicester, for example. Yeah. And I think that he could end up being not their best player, but their most important player.
Yeah, most impactful in that role. Yeah, because that role, again, is a key role, isn't it? Like
but then here's the problem. Sorry to interrupt you, mate. Here's the problem.
Go on.
Lavia's better and Caicedo's better.
Yeah.
So,
and I think some people might argue that Santos is better. So we got to talk about other midfielders then. We haven't included Gallagher. In that. No. We haven't included Casadei in that.
Is it the easy option to not include Gallagher in a similar vein to the Trevoh Chalobah one because we're assuming he's gone? And should we be going against doing that? Because actually, when you're looking at it, we want Gallagher, we want Trevoh Chalobah. I want them both probably in the starting lineup.
Yeah.
Definitely Trev, you know what I mean?
I'm looking at it now in the midfield, and maybe the England experience is sort of clouding my judgment even more than it would do otherwise. He wasn't great for England, was he?
England. What, the ones that won by last minute bicycle kick from Jude Bellingham?
As in Gallagher wasn't good for England. I'm not casting aspersions on England as a
mate.
collective.
We're not gonna listen. Kane wasn't very good for Millwall, but he still scored last night and played up front for England. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Jude Bellingham weren't that great for Birmingham. No,
Jude Bellingham wasn't that great last night until he fucking whacked in a bicycle kick, was it?
They pulled a bit of a masterstroke retiring his number, didn't they, Birmingham?
They did.
Because when they did it at the time, it's like, you're retiring a 17-year-old's number.
Look at it now.
How hard is it to predict the success of a 17-year-old?
Yeah.
Like, we know that's hard.
It's very difficult.
That's hard. Like, even your boys over at Football Manager don't always,
They get it wrong all the time.
They get Freddie Adu.
Yeah.
There you go.
Classic player. What's he doing now?
What is he doing? Do you know?
I don't know. I don't think he's playing football. I'll tell you that for sure. What was the City boy called? Michael Johnson.
Yeah, Michael Johnson. He runs estate agents.
There you go.
Probably multiple estate agents, and I would imagine
very
that
successful.
come off the back of him owning properties. So he's probably doing all right for himself. Better than some of them underpaid Euro managers. So.
So I think for me, let's look at the midfield now. I'm going to put it on screen. Conor Gallagher, I think, because he does have that 12 months left on his contract, I do think he'll be gone. Unless something magical happens. And there were briefings, we saw them, Joey, didn't we? There were briefings saying that he might sign the new contract. But until that point, I'm going to say he's out the door. Now, the other player that I've got in there that I think might even be sold is Casadei.
Yeah, I can see that coming true.
He didn't really play that much, if you look at it, under Maresca in the Championship. So how is he going to play under him with all that competition?
I'd counter that to say that when he did play, I was like, every single match, and I understand you could say, well, who gives these ratings? But every single match, I looked at match ratings when he was playing, and he was always like decent. I think the Leicester fans in the comment section would tell you they probably thought he was decent, but maybe they felt they had better options than him. Okay, and that's fair enough. But I think that Casadei will be a good player at the right club. Part of me, and this might be because you've said it to me in the past, part of me just sees him in Serie A.
Yeah, I could see him going back there. The thing for me, and maybe the Hutchinson deal is proving this, is I think some of the signings that we're making, we're doing them intentionally without ever thinking they were going to be ready for the first team or play for Chelsea because we want to sell them on. And because Casadei did come in for a relatively low amount of money, I think we know that we're going to be able to sort of double, triple, quadruple that, whatever it is. And that will be brilliant for the book. So I think Casadei might have ended up being one of those signings that we knew would never actually play for Chelsea unless something mad happened.
Yeah.
So for me, I'm putting him in the sold list. Casadei.
Yeah, I would also say that Ugochukwu probably will go.
I'd put him in the loan list.
Okay.
Because I feel they might keep hold of him because, as you say, the physicality might help in the Premier League.
Yeah, and also, off the top of my head, I feel like he cost 20 mil, 25 mil, something like that, Ugochukwu. I feel like his price tag was more than we would probably think.
It was more than Casadei.
Well, there you go. There you go.
Yeah. So that tells you something. So, to recap the midfielders, I've got Enzo Lavia, I've got Caicedo Santos, I've got KDH, I've got Carney. And that's basically it, isn't it?
Yeah. But then again, at the same time, you're saying that's basically it.
Yeah.
The options aren't bad there. Because when you read like Caicedo Santos, Caicedo is going to be fit and available. He's going to be there. So Santos isn't really going to get a look in. You should just be focusing on the one that's going to be on the pitch there.
Yeah.
Enzo or Lavia, either or, like both really good options in my opinion. And actually, speak about Enzo Fernandez's ability as a sort of deep lying playmaker. There's a lot of Southampton fans, and I get you can say it was a whole season's ago, we haven't seen him since, and maybe at a lower level, they were relegated that season, but there's a lot of Southampton fans that tell you, my God, this boy can spray a ball, this boy can pick a pass, he's got good vision in the middle of the pitch, so I think he can be brilliant.
Yeah, I can't wait to see him.
Yeah.
So maybe the one that I'll take out of the loan list then is maybe Ugochukwu, because you've kind of convinced me. If we've only got 6 players in that role, maybe it would make sense to have the 7th in Ugochukwu, keep him around.
Potentially, yeah.
Yeah, the other one that we have to talk about is Kendry Pies, who is out, obviously still on loan. We don't have him in the team. He won't come in until next summer.
Yeah.
But he's going to probably play in one of those roles. So when, you know what it's like, mate, the boys have got to keep on planning the squad out, and they're looking at him coming in. Obviously, he can play on the wing as well, but I do think he'll end up playing within one of those 8 roles in the future. And he looks so good. I can't wait to see him play. So it'd be interesting to see how he fits in. Let's go to the left wing, because I think the left wing is very interesting, isn't it?
It's interesting.
We've got 2 players there. One will definitely be gone. Or
Mudryk,
hopefully will
you
be
think
gone.
he's gone already?
Yeah. The 2 players are, obviously you said one, my boy Mykhailo Mudryk, who is a channel fan favourite. People do love him on my channel, mate. You know, they're not as biased.
Change the name, maybe?
I will change my name.
Mudryk FP.
Yeah. So yeah, we got Mudryk, we got Sterling. I'm ready to see Sterling gone.
I'm ready to see both of them gone.
Yeah, it's harsh, isn't it? What would you do with Mudryk then? Would it be a loan or would it be a permanent sale?
Just like, actually, if you take away the sort of baggage that comes with it and the shock element of what I'm about to say now, the sensible option is to fucking loan him, in my opinion. That's actually what I think it is. But you don't bring someone in for 70 odd million, whatever we sign him for, and then ship him out on loan. It just doesn't happen. The problem is this, right? If we were to loan Mykhailo Mudryk and he was to go somewhere, and I'm not on about not back to Shakhtar, I'm on about if he was to go, like high end, I think, obviously they would need someone in this position, but high end, I think you could see a Barcelona or someone come in for him.
Well,
like, I don't
there
think
were rumours about a big club being in for him, and the rumour was Bayern.
Really?
Bayern were interested in taking him on loan.
Yeah, I could see it. I could see it. That's not going to happen now because they've gone and got Elise.
Yeah.
But, I don't think he'd go like low-end loan. I think he'd have to be in some form of European football or whatever. But I could see him getting loaned out there. Sterling, I'd probably like him to move on at this stage.
Yeah.
Nothing against him, but I'd like him to move on at this stage. He doesn't fit the wage structure.
No.
One of the reasons we turned away Elise is because we've so-called got this 150 grand per week cap on the wages, which I think's good, think's fine. I think is a little bit unrealistic if that's your cap and you're looking to then push on and win the Premier League. I think that's slightly unrealistic, but I think that if players such as Romelu Lukaku and Raheem Sterling were to leave the club, maybe that cap would creep up. Maybe we'd still tell everyone it's 150, but we'd be willing to do a little 180 deal here, maybe even a 200 grand a week deal, which days gone by was the norm. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't even that wild. So I think that potentially we could see that. And I think that that's why it'd probably be important for us to maybe get rid of both of those guys. But I would say that we're in the Europa Conference League and Mykhailo Mudryk needs to be looking at that Europa Conference League and licking his lips and thinking, oh my God, I'm going to bag some goals here. Because one of the more impressive things, probably because I saw him more in this stage, was his performances in the Champions League. I think that probably played a big part, his sort of cameo against Real Madrid and whatnot, played a big part in why we went and signed him. Yeah. So I think that he needs to be looking at that Conference League and thinking, right, this is this is where I come to fruition here. So I'd give him another season, to be fair.
Would you?
Yeah.
Because you were quite dismissive of him there. And people are writing Woodruff off.
Yeah.
And like, look, he didn't really tear it up for Ukraine, did he?
What's your stance? Because surely it's got to have changed now.
Like, look, for me, I think you think that I believe this guy's like a world-class talent. I've definitely used the word world-class to describe him.
I can pull up some receipts.
Yeah. And look, for me, I think the summary that I'll always give is he does things that other players just don't do for Chelsea. And I do think he has that electric pace that, again, not a lot of our squad currently have. And so I am bullish on this guy because I do think he has a high potential. And I think the fact that you're mentioning loans to Champions League teams tells you everything you need to know about the arrogance of us as Chelsea fans. In that we think this guy can go out and play in the Champions League football, but we don't think he's good enough for us.
But sometimes that happens.
But that's
square pegs, round holes.
But it's
sometimes
unfair,
that
isn't
happens.
it? Yeah, it's unfair to say that. Like, he's good enough to play in the Champions League, but not good enough to play in the Conference League for us.
It's not really unfair though. You say unfair. Like, I don't want to get into this pay and whatever.
Yeah.
But the fella's being paid well.
Yeah.
He's been brought into Chelsea Football Club. He's been given a chance. We can't even now go, he's never been given a chance. He has been given a chance. So then for us to raise the question as to where he's at and is he going to fulfill the potential that at least the price tag warranted, I don't think it's unfair for us to ask the questions. I think they're valid questions to be asked. And I think that's why you're hearing a lot of the fan base ask these questions. So, but I'll state it again. There's nothing more that I would like than for Mykhailo Mudryk to pop up next season and be an important player for us. But I think the performances of Cole Palmer this season have just put anyone else to shame, especially if you're underperforming.
Yeah. This is what was interesting about the Elise one for me, in that it didn't make sense because the right wing is so stacked. And I really like our right wing. I think it's very, very encouraging indeed. Whereas the left wing feels like the area in which we need to strengthen. Especially if Sterling goes. And look, I think an MLS move would be the perfect move for him. And I think that'd be great for him and his family. And we'd be happy to pay for the flights ourselves if he does want to go over to the MLS. He'll have a great time. But I think Mudryk is the backup. You know, I'm not rushing to offload him. And I think he would be a more than adequate backup in the league and a tournament format that we're going to have. The amount of games we've got, I think him as a backup would be fine. So
He'll be a backup, but he won't be a backup to Raheem Sterling, in my opinion. He'll be a backup to Christopher Nkunku.
And that's the thing. So the other one that we've got to mention is Christopher Nkunku. I do see his position now being on the left-hand side.
Yep, same.
A lot of people are classing him as a striker, which we disagree with.
Listen, like stylistically, maybe because we only saw him there twice, I think it was. When he came on against Wolves, he played in the number 9. Also, I think when he played against Palace, he played in the number 9. Other than that, quite often we were seeing him in more wide positions. I felt he looked more comfortable coming in from wider positions on the field than he did in number 9. But let's see. Maybe Maresca's got plans for him.
This is the thing. Do you know what, mate? There's a weird one that I think at the moment, maybe what's going to end up happening is Jackson ends up playing on the left and Nkunku ends up playing through the middle in this system.
I don't think that's out of the realms of possibility. I think we could see that.
I think that could happen.
Yeah.
So
I'd be quite interested in seeing that, to be fair.
Yeah,
because we saw
too.
Jackson on the left away at Luton this season. I thought he looked good there. And if you ask a Villarreal fan, they'll tell you he's more of a left winger.
He started as a winger, didn't he?
Yeah.
So it all comes down to, and maybe we should go on to this position next, it comes down to the striking positions. And I think this tactical movement around, it does depend on whether we can get another striker in. I think you and I agree here, we do need another one. We've just signed Marc Gucurella, who's the other player that we brought in for Barcelona. He's only come in for £5 million. Unbelievable deal, to be honest with you.
Great value for money.
But I do think we need another one. We've been discussing this on your channel, and make sure you watch the video on Joey's channel. It's the best channel out there, quite frankly. And make sure you subscribe to it as well, if you aren't already. I think more than half the people here already come from you, so I don't even know why I'm saying that.
Well,
but anyway,
we all like to help each other.
So Marc Gucurella's come in. We think he might be in and around the squad. David Djordje Fofana is there. Probably think he'll end up going on another loan. Might even be potentially sold. So we do need another striker. The question is, who's that going to be? You've mentioned John Duran.
Yeah, I think it will be John Duran. I think that's the realistic option. I think quite a lot of the time, maybe football is the one place where there is, but quite often there's no smoke without fire.
Yeah.
And I think we just heard John Duran linked time in, time out with Chelsea Football Club. So I think that's the direction we're going to go in, mate.
Guirassi's gone. He's gone to Borussia Dortmund.
Has he?
Yes, officially. So that deal's happened. Alvarez, we think that might have just been some rumours out of nowhere There doesn't really seem to be anything really there, does there?
As football fans, we shouldn't, but as Chelsea fans, at the same time, we probably should, because we know our club are never too far away from penalties, restrictions, fines, transfer bans, whatever. Yeah. I've just got a feeling we'll end up overpaying for Julian Alvarez, and that's something I want to avoid. And
the wages just, I mean, if we can't afford to pay Elise, how are we going to be able to afford
No,
this
and let's
guy?
be honest, like you can say, oh, well, he's played for Man City, he's played Champions League football. Until he does something to prove this, I'm not having you tell me that Alvarez is a better player than Elise.
That is mad.
Why? It's not mad. It's not mad.
Your rationale is that, he's got the bigger potential. Because he isn't doing more than Alvarez right now. He doesn't have more goals in the Premier League than Alvarez.
No, but he didn't play as many matches last season than Alvarez.
Yeah. And he doesn't play for Man City.
Well, exactly. There you go.
So yeah.
There you go.
So...
Potential, my friend, is pie in the sky. Look at your old friend Mikhailo Mudryk. Because at the minute, I'm going to put it out there, Raheem Sterling's a better player than Mikhailo Mudryk.
Do you know the one that isn't being mentioned and perhaps should be? Especially when you told me the wages of this guy. I was incredibly surprised about. He did play for England in the match recently. Ivan Toney.
The Tone Dog. Yeah.
You've been quite bullish on this guy.
Do you know what I told you about the wages of another ex-England striker, Danny Ings? I think you're going to bring him up for a minute there. I was thinking, where's he going?
No, the Brentford wages video that we did very much surprised me. That this guy, how much is he on?
Surprised me about Ivan Toney. He's on about 37 grand a week or something.
Crazy, yeah.
I know, how's he living? I'll tell you what surprised me about Ivan Toney.
Go on.
Looks like he spent the old summer on the old D-bowl. Yeah. He's just served the betting ban.
He has had the test.
Okay, yeah, the test. Yeah. Nah.
Do you? Because we talked about this. How do you feel about him?
Yes.
You would sign him, would you?
Yes.
How old is he now? 28.
You're only as young as the woman you're feeling. No, I'm joking. No, he's about 28. Yeah.
Would he fit into this squad?
I think Ivan Toney reads the game well. I think he's got good football intelligence. I do think he would. The question that we asked before was, has he got more non-penalty goals than Cole Palmer last season? No, obvious, because he only got a few goals or whatever.
Yeah.
But would he get more non-penalty goals than Cole Palmer next season? I don't know he would. And is that because of the benchmark that Cole Palmer set? Yes, very possibly so. But if we're bringing in a big name striker, if we're not going for a John Duran, depending on what we could get Ivan Toney for potentially, but if we're not going for an Osman, someone like that, then I'd probably want to go for maybe a John Duran or someone like that. Tony's that point in the middle where if you're bringing him in on what he's done and the Premier League achievements he's got so far and whatnot, you want to make sure that he's scoring more than everyone around him. Yeah. Like, that's a requirement, is it not?
Yeah.
I don't wholeheartedly say if Cole Palmer's on penalties that he is scoring more than everyone around him. And then it's like, well, do we part with the cash?
But is he a backup option? Like, for me, I think you and I both agree. We want to see Jackson play. So if you're talking about backup options...
Josh, he's not a backup option. Because back in the day...
You don't think Tony's a backup option?
No, because back in the day, he is a backup option.
Yeah.
Chelsea of Abramovich, Ivan Toney comes in, plays backup. He's a backup option. Yeah. We've just signed a guy who didn't win Championship Player of the Season. Yeah. He'd have probably come second, if there was a second. But he didn't win Championship Player of the Season. Yeah. We're not going on about back in the day. Back in the day, Ivan Toney could have been a backup option, but he's not now. Comes in and plays number 9 for us. So
you think he plays over Nicholas Jackson?
Yeah. For the right price, maybe I'd have him.
Wow. Because no one's talking about this. I don't see any rumours about Toney coming over.
I'm not keen on it.
Yeah,
I'm not saying I'm keen on it. By the way, if you want to go back, rewind for 2 minutes. You brought him up, not me. I'm just saying, if they slap £35 million on his head, and we could get him for 80 grand a week, I'd probably have him. Yeah.
If it was exactly the same fee and exactly the same wages for him and Duran, who would you sign?
Maybe Duran.
Wow. You've changed your tune because you were Toney in.
Well, I'll tell you why, right? If you were giving me someone a bit more class than Ivan Toney, or just a bit better, right? I would then weigh it up as, okay, so the question is the future versus the here and now, So Duran is potentially the future. I'm not ready to hang my neck on the line and say Ivan Toney is the here and now. Yeah. So if you offer me the here and now, and it is proven
Yeah,
here and now,
records,
yeah,
yeah,
Isak,
yeah,
then yes.
yeah.
But with Tony, I'm still a little bit unsure, so I don't think I can say that I definitely have him over Duran.
So out of our 3.5 options, because I'm putting Nkunku as sort of like the left wing / striker, they could interchange. We've said that Nkunku could be a number 9, could be a false 9, could be a left winger. If we're going with Jackson, Gu,
Yep.
Nkunku, are you saying we still need another one?
Yeah, I would say that.
Okay,
I would say that because Gu, I'm not definitively sure if he's here next season. He could be out on loan. I'm not too sure if he is here next season. And he comes in and in his first real senior season hits the ground running. It wouldn't be groundbreaking. It wouldn't be unheard of because we've seen Cole Palmer do it last season, but it would still be unlikely. I think we'd agree with that. I think we'd agree that Cole Palmer's probably the exception to the rule. Do you know what I mean? So then when I look at that, you've just named a guy who potentially is going to need more progression in his career. He's going to need more nurturing. He's going to need to come of age a little bit more. And then you've named 2 guys who I can't hang my hat on saying that they are definitely number 9s.
Yeah.
So you've just named 3 non-options in a way. So for that reason, then yeah.
John Duran is the one.
John Duran's probably the one for me.
Yeah. Now.
And is it a sign of the times as where we are?
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Would I rather Osman over John Duran? Yeah, all right.
Yeah.
I'd rather him. But we are where we are. And being unrealistic in life doesn't actually get you anywhere. All it does is it basically impacts and dampens your expectations and gives you unrealistic expectations. And the more unrealistic your expectations are, the more you set yourself up for a fall when these things don't come to fruition, don't happen. So for me, if I'm being realistic, I think between them ones you've just named and maybe a John Duran, that's the one.
Yeah.
Ultimately, I probably would have maybe picked a Garassi.
Yes, but he's gone, so we can't get him.
There you go.
I don't think we're going to get Osman. I don't think we're going to get Alvarez. And so really your options are a Duran or a Tony now. I think that those are actually the only... I mean, they've talked about other options, haven't they? But they haven't materialised into anything. So maybe we'll end up signing another 20-year-olds and we'll never have heard of them and they'll fit in. But I think until then, we'll put Duran in there for now, which means Djordje Petrovic will be sold or loaned. I'm veering more on the selling now.
Yeah, do you think his transfer value is high enough after that loan spell at Burnley to...
Yeah, that's the thing. That's I mean,
because do you know what
need
I
a
would
striker,
be thinking?
don't they?
They do. And do you know what I would be thinking? If I was Bowley or the powers that be, I'd be thinking maybe give him another loan, man. Maybe give him another loan because you've got 50-50 sort of... Well, I mean, he's been on 3 loans, hasn't he? He was at Strasbourg. Was he at Strasbourg? Then Union Berlin, and obviously at Burnley, it sort of looked like it was going fairly decent for him. It's almost a shame that Burnley were relegated.
Sorry, it was Sevilla, by the way, the first one, the first loan.
Sevilla?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
It's
almost a shame that Burnley were relegated because he's not going to inflate his value that much. Yeah. But with the sort of element of knowing the squad now and knowing the area and the training facilities and whatnot, I think the Burnley might be a good option for him to stay there next season. To be fair, if he did... Is it jumping the gun to say we're looking at potential championship top goal scorer? And then when you look at the value of a guy who was nowhere near championship top goal scorer, but was one of the better players in the league last year, and Amari Hutchinson, well, we've just got rid of him for about 25 million. So
he's not going to go to the championship, though.
He's not going to go to the championship.
I can't see it happening. But I think he will be sold permanently. Let's go quickly on to right mids, right wingers. I think this is pretty easy. Madueke, been hearing rumours about him leaving as well. I don't get that. I don't want to see him going.
No, I think actually when you're looking at stylistically how Enzo Maresca plays and how we're anticipating him to play, Madueke could end up being a really, really important player for Enzo Maresca because he, alongside Raheem Sterling, is the only player that I'm like, right, you can run at defenders.
Yeah, 1v1.
You can run 1v1 at defenders. And I say alongside Raheem Sterling because you could pull up matches like Raheem Sterling in the 4 draw with Man City where he had Kyle Walker on toast. And you could go, well, that version of Raheem Sterling would definitely suit the Enzo Maresca system. Yeah. But he blows hot and cold. Yeah. And at the age he's at and on the wages he's on, there's not really an excuse for it. Whereas if you're a younger player like Madueke, I'm not actually saying Madueke blows hot and cold, but if he does, you can sort of forgive him in a way. Yeah,
absolutely. So I've got Cole Palmer as the other option there. Yeah. I mean, arguably the best player in our entire team, probably is the best player in the entire world. Entire world. Then the other one I want to briefly chat about is Angelo. Do you think he stays or do you think he goes on a loan? Because he was very good.
I think he'll probably go back out on loan.
Strasbourg again, I think could happen. which is a shame because I'd like to see him. And also, he's left-footed, so maybe he could be a left winger.
You know what's mad, yeah? When I'm like thinking back to it now, and we look at like players like going out for a potential second season on loan, and everyone goes, see, this is the way Chelsea are. You know, we've always sort of done that.
Yeah.
Like,
we have.
Do you remember Mikhail Forsell?
Yeah.
He was on loan for about fucking 3-4 seasons.
So true.
You know what I mean? Like,
So
we have always sort of done this, and people are like now thinking, I get that we're now doing it on mass scale compared to in the past, but we did always send players out
JT was
on
loan. JT
JT
was
went Nottingham Forest,
yeah.
Lampard went Swansea, not from us, from West Ham, but still,
Yeah, so it's happened all throughout our history. Yeah. Interesting. Right, now let's get on to the very quickly, the sold players. We've got a lot of deadwood to get rid of as well, haven't we? Obviously, we'll whiz through these, but Kepa, we think he'll go, won't he?
He can fuck off.
He can fuck right off. Then I've got Malang Sarr still there.
Who?
Disgrace, exactly. Yeah, Pochettino said the same thing. Bashir Humphries, he's not going to get in the squad, is he? You might as well sell him.
He was at Swansea.
He was at Swansea.
Yeah.
Had a good season.
Do you reckon you get like? Would you get anywhere near 10 mil for Bashir Humphries?
I was saying, I had 15 in my head.
Really?
Yeah, I think you'd get that kind of money for him. He's a good young English player.
He is, but I don't know. That's a bit steep.
Mate, players have been sold for a lot more than that.
They have, but they've also been sold for a lot less.
Yeah, that's true.
I would say you're going to get 8 mil.
Okay, I'll take that.
Yeah.
Broja, gone.
See, it's mad, isn't it? I'm going, you only get 8 mil for Bashir Humphries, but then we're thinking we can get somewhere close to 30 for Broja.
And that's the thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think what we underestimate is the power of English players in the transfer market right now, because obviously the homegrown nature of them really helps. So I think Bashir could be more. Burstow, we've still got on the books. He'll never play for Chelsea.
Yeah, he never played
Real
for us.
shame.
No.
Again, he needs to be sold. I've got all of these players are in the sold category. Lukaku, obviously, still got on the books. He'll be gone. Angerin, you didn't even know who Angerin was, so he's going to definitely be sold. And then Hall, obviously, is gone as well. And then I have included Trevoh, Conor, and Casadei in the sold list, which then means I've got Gilchrist definitely on loan.
He's going on loan.
Yeah.
To Como.
There you go. Definitely on loan. Ugochukwu, I had as not unsure, but we've included him in the squad, so let's keep him in the squad. Matos, was it Huddersfield?
Yeah.
Where's his best position? I don't really know. He's a winger, but also has played DM. Fuck knows. He'll be. I mean, arguably might even be sold. And then Washington as well. I think he needs a loan.
He just needs to play and not under 21 football. He needs to go somewhere and play. And do you know what? Like, maybe I'd be singing from a different hymn sheet if I had potentially seen a lot more of him and seen him show glimpses in the first team, maybe like that Trevoh Chalobah showed out on loan at Burnley. Yeah. But I wouldn't even be object to him going on loan at a Championship League One side.
Yeah, that's the level that he's at, isn't it? I think a championship team, mid-table championship team, he'll get in the team.
Nothing wrong with it though. When you look at some of the great England strikers, mate. Listen, Wayne Rooney came through in a struggling Premier League Everton side. Harry Kane had loan spells to everywhere, left, right and centre. Leighton Orient, Millwall, Norwich. Jamie Vardy came through at Fleetwood, I think it was, or whatever. Yeah. So I don't think that there's any real bad point of a Washington going on loan and maybe going to a lesser championship side, something like that. So let's see.
The only other one that we haven't mentioned is Moreira. I think he'll go as well.
Not interested.
We're not worried about that. No. But that's the squad. I think we've built a pretty decent team there. What we should do is we'll come back to this closer to the end of the transfer window. We'll do it on your channel and we'll talk all about what we think is actually going to be the squad that Maresca ends up building. But I thought we'd do it earlier in the window this season to see how wrong we are. Because we're often wrong about these things.
Not me.
But we'll leave it there. Thank you so much for watching. If you have enjoyed this, please do subscribe to the channel, give it a like, and obviously go and subscribe to Joey's channel. He's got the best channel on YouTube.
Thanks for having me, mate.
I really enjoyed this. I have to do this again.
Good fun.
But thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you soon.